But let me be clear. This is not Ukraine's fault. Russia bears ultimate responsibility as it continues its illegal war against Ukraine.
NATO's Secretary General addressing the missile that hit Polish territory yesterday, pinning the blame directly on Russia. 2 people were killed in this blast only a few miles from the Ukraine border, where NATO is now weighing whether to hold an emergency meeting. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, a Fox News contributor and former national security advisor to Vice President Pence. General, good to have you with us as always. What's your take on all of this morning?
Yeah, Martha, thanks for having me. Thanks to you and Bill. Look, whatever happens or whatever they're talking about, it's a direct result of egregious Russian behavior where they fired almost 100 missiles into Ukraine against civilian infrastructure. It's all on them. And this is a direct result of what's happened, I believe, to the south in Kherson, where the Russians abandoned Kherson. It's an operational failure, both politically and militarily. It opens the door for Ukraine to continue the advance towards Crimea if they want to do it. Up to now, they've lost about 50%. The Russians lost about 50% of the territory they have gained since the invasion. Here's what they should do with NATO. And I believe that Biden should pick up the phone and call Stoltenberg, the Secretary General, or Juliana Smith, the permanent representative of the United States to NATO, and say, look, under Article 4 of the NATO treaty, you ought to call together the North Atlantic Council meeting, bring them all together, and talk about potential reaction to what the Russians have done. The Russian military is shattered right now. They are not a threat to NATO. But you need to put pressure on Putin. And this is how you put pressure on him, by raising the political stakes on him. And his generals are going to see this. Gerasimov, his senior military guy, he's not foolish. He knows that his military is failing badly. They know that they're having real problems going back on the offensive. So put the political pressure on Putin. If they don't keep the pressure up, I think it's a huge mistake because it allows Putin to recover, to reconstitute his forces, to bring in the reserves he's working, and use winter to his advantage. So they should use their advantage they've got, bringing everybody together and say, enough of this, put the pressure back on Russia.
So you're saying that they should use this as an opportunity to bring everyone together, to put pressure on Putin. Would you put more sanctions in? Would you go after the SWIFT banking rules? Would you put pressure on the European allies to do more? What would you use this as an opportunity to do, General?
Yeah, Martha, great. That's a great comment that you just made. I would say bring everybody together and say, look, this is not the time to let up. This is the time when you need to advance your pressure. And this is the time where all of the NATO alliance needs to stand up and give them more equipment, more training, whatever, all the support they need to give to keep the pressure on Putin and know that they're not going to back off on him. So use this to their advantage. If they don't do that, it's a huge mistake because Putin will see that as weakness. One thing he responds to is strength, and you've got to apply strength to Putin.
What vibe are you getting from the White House right now? Because it was very quick yesterday. President Biden said, you know, we don't think that this came from Russia. It's unlikely it came from Russia. Do you think he's going to take advantage of this moment, or do you think they're just going to kind of back off and say, let's just say this was an accident and move on?
Yeah, I think the latter, not the former. I think they're going to say, well, it was an accident, no harm, no foul. That's a huge mistake. Use something like this as leverage. But if using the track record of this administration, they don't want to antagonize the Russians for whatever reason to a large degree. And they shouldn't, because the only thing Putin understands, like I said a second ago, was strength. And they need to apply all the strength they can with all of NATO, keep pushing the envelope as hard as they can.
General Kellogg, thank you. Always good to see you, sir.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.